So, one of my favorite movies of all time is this film called The Shadow. And I mean it's not really a popular movie, but it's not really obscure either. It came out in the early 90s, like around like 94. And it's one of those situations where they were trying to like cash in on the whole Batman craze. Like what other comic book property could they snag up and make a movie out of? And if you don't know the story, if you've never seen it before, it takes place in the 1930s, and you basically have this guy who into goes over into Asia during the war, and he ends up going MIA, and nobody knows what happened to him. But he didn't die or anything. What happened was he just kind of got caught in this whole like criminal underground element in this like province that he was in, and it ends up like corrupting him completely to the point where like he's actually running things. He becomes like a weird like warlord. It gets really really crazy, and eventually like these guys sneak into his place, take him, like kidnap him, and take him to like this temple where this like monk tells him that he's going to train him to kind of make amends for all the evil he's done, right? And what this monk does is this monk teaches, and the character's name is Lamont Cranston, and he teaches Cranston how to not only open his mind, but how to cloud the minds of other people. And that's basically the whole premise. Is like this is what his abilities are. He can cloud the minds of a person. He can read your thoughts. He can make you see things that aren't there. But the only thing he can't conceal is his shadow. So Cranston goes back to New York, and he ends up fighting crime. Blah 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 blah. The only reason I'm talking about this movie is I was thinking about it like a lot today. There is a scene in the movie, just like really really quick, Cliff Notes version of the plot. There's another like psychically endowed guy who's also kind of like power hungry, and he comes to New York also to fight the Shadow. And what you end up finding out is this guy managed to use his mind to hypnotize the entire city. And what he did was his headquarters was this abandoned hotel, and he was operating in and out of this hotel. And it's not until the end of the movie that the Shadow, or Lamont Cranston, gets this weird feeling, and he goes to this abandoned lot that looks like it's just a empty lot, and he starts to like focus and concentrate, and he realizes that it's not abandoned. There is an entire building. Not only is it a building, it's a hotel. It's a high rise. And he was also one of the people that was hypnotized by, and even once he saw it, nobody else could still see it. And it wasn't until the very end, until the villain was nearly killed, that the concentration link was broke, and you were actually everybody was able to see this hotel. So yeah, I was walking not too long ago, and a place that I always walk past, and I noticed this house, and I've never seen the house before. And so, and as far as I can remember vaguely, it was kind of just like a lot, or like, I just remember there were trees there, going back in my head. I don't ever remember, I've walked past this, I've walked up and down this street hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. I have it all, like, it's like, I know it like the back of my hand. I have every little nook and cranny memorized. And it wasn't until today I saw this house. And the obvious, logical, I guess, for whatever that means, logical answer is that, well, maybe someone erected a house in a short amount of time since, you were last there. Which, they can make houses really, really fast, but the funny thing about this house is it didn't look like a house that had been erected, like, overnight. Like, or even one of those, like, Section 8 houses. It had all, like, the tenants and little dings and just all the little elements attributed to something that's been there for a while. Even weather damage around the shingles and, like, the side of the house. I have never seen that house before. And it just got me thinking. It reminded me of that scene in that movie, in The Shadow. And I've talked before about psychic projection, the way like certain entities, beings utilize that to either control or to sway in a certain direction, or to even like some entities are powerful enough psychic they can like convince you they're not in front of you, they're not nearby. You think you're just walking by a tree or whatever they want you to think that you're seeing. Some of them are so powerful they can project onto you to make you think that they're human, that they look like an actual human being and they're not like something else entirely. Some of that is technology, but some of that is psychic suggestion. And I've also talked about like these blind spots that we have as a collective humanity. Like, it makes you wonder, like, what else don't we see? And I'm not talking about like stuff in like other realms or stuff stuff outside of the three-dimensional world that we think of, I guess, around us. I mean, like stuff here, like tangible things. I wonder how many objects and buildings and just all kinds of things exist all around us, and we don't see them because they've been like psychically cloaked. We're not only just psychically cloaked, I believe too that sometimes that suggestions can be planted at a person or towards a person, or projected towards a person, to make them like avoid a certain area, a place, even a person, but like avoid a place altogether, like a section of an area. Like maybe you see this empty lot every time you pass it by, but there's some part of you that always kind of sways you away from ever investigating it, or like walking through or driving through. You always like, you see it, it's there, like you see it in your peripherals or whatever, but like you'll never actually go through that area. And I think a lot of that exists all around us. I really do. I really do. And like I intuitively, just like my gut, that house, man, like I just really felt like that house, I don't know what was going on with that house. That house was not there. It was not there. And if it had been like a place that I'd only been through like a couple of times, sure, absolutely. But no, I've been through that area so many times. Never saw the house before. It was so weird. It just like, and it immediately just stuck out too. When I walked past it, it was just like, you might as well have had neon lights flashing from it. So strange. And again, I just wonder like how much of that exists in our world. How many buildings, three-dimensional, tangible buildings, are invisible, are disguised as something else? How much around us is just disguise? Things disguised as other things, And again, I've talked before too about the ships and the technology and the vehicles and how they have, some of these beings have, vehicles and ships, but vehicles too, because some of the things they drive in are like cars. They're just not of the technology that we're acclimated to. I kid you not, I swear on my life, I've seen footage of a minivan that transformed into a completely different car and pulled out and drove away. Like it went through the parking lot, and in the video it kind of like goes past like the side of a building or something, or kind of backs in and then backs out. But there's enough time, you see this thing is like changing, transforming. Not too unlike what you've seen in the Transformers movies. Or Men in Black. They show you that too in Men in Black, where the entire car transforms and all the rockets come out and all that crazy stuff. So I really wonder, and that house got me thinking like long and hard about it. So crazy rant for today. I will talk to you folks later. Bye.
¿Cómo pudo conseguirlo? ¿El qué? La voz. Increíble. Es precioso.
¿El qué?
Sí, oiga, amigo, ese edificio de ahí, ¿cómo se llama ese edificio? El lunático. Shi Huan Khan ha conseguido hipnotizar a toda la ciudad. No lo ven. Nadie lo ve. Pero yo sí. Renly y tú recibiréis órdenes mías. Quiero que las sigáis al pie de la letra.